Mr. Biz himself, Ken Wentworth, everybody. Come on, bring it up to Ken Wentworth.
I'm blinded by the lights. No, I can't sleep until I feel your touch. I said, ooh.
First of all, I want to say thank you very much to Jose and his awesome VIP media team for putting on this amazing event. I'll tell you, I've drawn so much energy from being in this room, the cocktail party last night, and I needed it. I'll tell you, just a real quick personal story. I recently had to move in our middle daughter to college, and done it once already with our oldest. You think it would get easier. Not for dad, not for this dad at least. So I had a 3-hour drive. We moved her in, I held it together. I told Jose last night when I hugged her goodbye, I would strategically put my sunglasses on because I didn't want her to see me get upset. I get in the car, I drive 3 hours home. So I have by myself, full of emotions the whole time, right? I get home, family's in bed. I'm like, I'm gonna go in my home office real quick, check my emails so I don't have a whole deluge of emails the next day, right? My daughter had snuck into my home office before she left. She left me this long sentimental note with a card and a picture with the two of us and a picture frame that said, best dad ever. And I was a freaking mess again. So now she's doing well. She's adjusted. She's been in school now for about a week. Dad's doing better. And again, thank you. I've drawn energy from this. This has really helped kind of snap me a little bit out of that funk because it was tough, man. You know, for those parents out there that are going to be moving their kids in at some point, or you have already, man, I'll tell you, it just hasn't gotten easier. Like I said, the second child. Now, the other thing I want to mention is what I normally do, what I do for a living. I know Jose's talking about some of the media things I do, which are kind of a side note. I'm a strategic business partner. I'm a fractional CFO. I work with business owners, help them build their businesses, make them more profitable, more efficient. The good news for you is I'm not going to bore you with all that stuff because I'm a self-professed numbers nerd, okay? No one wants to hear that. So what I'm going to talk to you about today is not faking the funk. Okay, we all do this, unfortunately. I do it myself, and that's why I wrote this book. The book deals with my SMAC methodology. Got to have a cool acronym so people remember it, right? SMAC, S-M-A-C, is what it is, and it's a 4-step process that I kind of unknowingly through life developed as I was trying to achieve a bunch of different goals. And so just to give you, I don't mean this to brag, but I want to give you a couple real life examples where I used this SMAC methodology so you can see how powerful it is and how simple it is. So I actually used it to write the book, Don't Fake the Funk. And you might say, well, that's great. I've written a book, or I see a bunch of authors. I know a bunch of authors in the thing. And this is my 3rd book, actually. The caveat to the story is that I had committed on multiple different fronts of writing this book and publishing it by March 21st earlier this year. I committed last fall that I would do that. Well, you may have been here before. I procrastinated. I made a bunch of excuses. I didn't get started. Didn't start the book. I finally realized what an idiot I was being. I was procrastinating and not using my own SMAC methodology and applying it to writing a book about the SMAC methodology. I mean, how silly is that, right? So I immediately stepped into that, implemented it. The long story short, and why I want to bring this up about writing this book, and Jeffrey, I'll challenge you. You said you're 100 pages short. You might want to listen to this. So I wrote this book from start to publication. It's 218 pages in 30 days. I didn't put my life on hold. I still continued with all my clients, all my other things. It's possible, and that's how powerful this is. I've also used the SMAC methodology to break a world record. And I'm going to tell you about that in a little bit. And again, I don't mean these things to brag. I just want to show you how powerful this is, and it's so simple. Not a big deal. So if you guys think that might be helpful to you, someone say SMAC. All right, let's go. All right, so let's start with the S. The S is start with yes. And it really has to do with mindset. Now, we've heard a bunch of amazing speakers already talking about mindset. So I'm not going to talk a whole lot about this. And again, I'm trying to boil a 218-page book down into a short presentation here, but really the 2 things I'll mention about starting with yes is really changing the mindset to do, not to try. There's a quote, and I'm not even a Star Wars guy, but there's a quote by Yoda: do or do not, there is no try. I tell my kids this. I've told my kids this since they were this big. Either do something or don't do it. Don't try to do something. If you commit, you're going to do it. It might take you longer than you think. There may be trials and tribulations along the way, but you're going to do it. So you commit and you do. So I challenge you to, with the starting with yes, is that's what you have to do. The second part I'll mention on what's starting with yes is to think bigger. How many people on the stage today have said that? It's a common theme. We all, and I do it myself, we all think way too small. We downgrade our own capabilities. So that's the next part that I wanted to mention about starting with yes. So that's the yes, start with yes. Now the M in SMAC stands for model expert behavior. And I think actually Chris mentioned it, is finding someone who's already been there and done that. More than likely, whatever you're trying to achieve, there's someone who's been there, done that, right? Find them, follow them on social media, watch their YouTube videos, follow their Instagram stories, follow their path to success. It's super important. So I mentioned before, a little mini quiz, super easy though, kind of funny maybe. I mentioned I broke a world record. Most of you, if you know the story, please don't say the answer, but most of you probably don't know the story. If you had to guess, looking at me, okay, if you had to guess what I broke a world record in. All right, powerlifting. Anybody else? Anything. Running. Okay. Think about the contrast between that way, by the way. Powerlifting and running, right? Well, the answer is powerlifting. So, Chris, you win the prize. Oh, Derek. I'm sorry. I thought it was Chris. I can't see with the light. So powerlifting. So I broke not one, but 6 world records in powerlifting. Yes, me. Just a regular guy. And again, I don't say it to brag. I'm telling you, I use SMAC to do all of these things. Now, along the way, when I was competing in powerlifting, I figured out very quickly that a lot of other sports that have weight classes, a way to create a massive competitive advantage is to be able to cut weight. Now, you may have heard that, you hear wrestlers are cutting weight, things like that. You hear boxers, MMA, UFC guys. So what did I do? I modeled expert behavior. I found 4 books on cutting weight. Read all 4 books. One of them just absolutely blew me away. So I reached out to the author, became friends with him, picked his brain, learned so much from him. This was 20 or so years ago. Still friends with the guy to this day. But I learned how to cut weight. Now, let me ask you this. How many people, by a show of hands, in the crowd, don't be shy about this, how many of you guys have, at some point in your lives, gone on a diet to lose some weight? Okay, at least half the audience. So let's say you're on a diet. During the week, you hit all your workouts. Matter of fact, you may throw an extra 1 or 2 workouts in. You don't do 30 minutes of cardio, you do 40 minutes. You're just spot on with your workouts. Your nutrition, boom, you nail your macros, you do everything perfect. No treats, no anything, you stay away from the sugar, perfect. How much weight do you think you can lose in a week? 3 to 5 pounds. Any other guesses?
2 to 3 pounds.
How was that? 2 or 3 pounds, okay. So that'll give you a little bit of a baseline. By modeling expert behavior, reading those 4 books, becoming friends with one of the authors and picking his brain, and cutting weight, I was able to cut 17 pounds in 24 hours. 17 pounds in 24 hours. And I didn't die, I'm still here, so that's good, right? Very challenging. Now, could I have accomplished that on my own without doing that? Maybe, probably not if I'm being honest. And how long would it have taken me? By modeling expert behavior, I accelerated my path to success. I probably couldn't have figured it out because I would have had trials and tribulations along the way. I may have never figured it out. But by modeling expert behavior, I accelerated that path in a major way. I did it with my radio show. Jose mentioned that. I was terrible. I'm still not convinced I'm that great at it, but I was terrible when I first started. So I reached out to 4 nationally syndicated talk show hosts. Who would know better, right? They have nationally syndicated talk shows. They must be really good at what they do. So I want to learn from them. Now, these are names you would all know. 3 of them got back to me. I ended up on the phone with 2 of them, believe it or not. So that leads me to my next thing is don't be afraid as you're thinking through your head right now of maybe some experts that you want to model their behavior. Don't be afraid to aim high. There's a Steve Jobs quote, and I've used this another one I use with my kids, and they've actually thrown it back on me a few times in a bad way, and you'll see why. If you don't ask, the answer is always no, is the Steve Jobs quote. So when you're thinking, when I was reaching out to these nationally syndicated talk show hosts, most people would say, why are you wasting your time? They're never going to get back to you. Well, they did. Most people want to help. Now, there's a lot of ways to do that to, be successful, not just cold call Oprah Winfrey, right? Probably not going to work. And that's in the book, but we won't go through all those. But the point is, don't be afraid to reach high. Pick people at the top of the field. If you have an e-commerce business and you're doing 10 million a year and you want to do 100, find someone who does $1 billion. Find someone who does at least $500 million. Aim high, learn from them. There's so much you can learn and accelerate your path to success. So that's the M. The A in SMAC deals with accountability, specifically a sphere of accountability. And some of us are decent at holding ourselves personally accountable. Some of us, maybe not so good. So that's why we want to create this sphere. We want to create a sphere of accountability, though, without giving people homework. And what I mean by that is it would be easy for me to say, hey, Bob, can you check in on me on a regular basis and see how I'm doing on my goals? I've just given Bob homework. I don't know about you. I don't like homework even to this day. No one likes homework, right? So we don't want to give people homework, but we want to bring them into the sphere. And again, there's a bunch of different ways in the book, but one I want to highlight, I have a prop. Every good speaker's got to have a prop, right? If I can find it. This is magic. A 3x5 index card. Now, how in the heck is this going to help me accomplish goals? Well, let me tell you why. When I was chasing a goal, I would get these, and I would put maybe one word. It might be an acronym. When I was powerlifting, it would be the amount of weight I wanted to lift. I'd put it on, and I'd print out a half a dozen of these cards, and I would put these cards everywhere I'm at every day. So, for example, in my office, I would tape it to the bottom of my monitor. I would tape one to the dashboard of my truck. I put one on in our bathroom above my sink. So it's staring at me every day. I'm brushing my teeth, I'm shaving, I'm washing my face. I see it. It's a constant reminder. It keeps this goal, that could be a long-term goal, keeps it top of mind every single day, multiple times a day. Now, here's where the sphere comes in. So let's say someone comes into my office and they see something with, let's say it's got 500 on it, and it's taped to the bottom of my monitor, and they're like, that's kind of weird. They're probably going to ask you about it. What is this? They get into my truck. We're going to lunch. I'm driving. They go, excuse me, why in the world do you have 500 taped in a card to your dashboard? It's kind of weird, right? And I say, oh, that's the weight I want to lift at my next competition. They become intrigued because it's a big goal, and it's kind of weird. Not many people do that, and it sounds crazy. Like, who could lift 500 pounds, right? So they ask you about it. Oh, well, when's the next competition? Now they're in the sphere. So they're in the sphere of accountability, but you haven't asked them. You haven't given them homework, because now they might ask you about it later. Oh, the competition's on July 15th. They see you after July 15th. They may ask you how you did, right? And even if they don't, it still works. Here's why it works. Because you think that they might ask you. And we just established a little bit ago, no one likes to disappoint anyone, right? No one likes to disappoint anyone. So you don't want to have that awkward conversation and let people down and say, I fell short. So that's how this works so well. And by the way, quick side note to that, it works even better with the haters. Because if you have haters and they see this in that example I gave and they go, there is no freaking way he's going to lift 500 pounds. What's that date again? I'm putting it on my calendar because I'm going to call him out because there's no way he's going to do it, and I want to see him squirm when he tells me he failed. So that'll drive you even more towards your goal. The second thing I'll talk about just real quick, another quick little prop here, is for personal accountability. It helps me a ton. Super simple. It's just a little composition book, right? The reason I like it, you can put it in your pocket, right? Fits in your pocket, carry around with you all day. On the front, I put the same thing I put on the index cards. I have a date on each day. So at the end of each day, I have to commit to myself that I'm going to write down at least 3 things that I did that day that drive me closer to the goal. You can't write the same thing down every day. And here's how real quickly it can work. Let's say it's 6 p.m. I go into to our bathroom and I'm brushing my teeth and I see the index card. Reminds me of the goal, and I go, crap, what am I going to write in my book tonight? Well, I got 2 things. I don't have a third. So now I know I have, whatever, a few hours before bedtime that I gotta take another action towards my goal. So that's another way to keep that personal accountability there. So that's the accountability. That's creating that sphere of accountability. Let's move on to the C. The last part is what I call consistent perseverance. Consistent perseverance. These are the times in our lives when you've gone all in. All in. You haven't tried to do something. You said, come hell or high water, I'm going to accomplish this. You push all your chips into the middle of the table and you say, I'm going to make this happen. And all of us, no matter your age, all of us have at least a few of these examples. And it reminds me of a quote by a baseball player, Babe Ruth. He said, if it's impossible to beat someone who never gives up. And that embodies what consistent perseverance means. And if you're sitting there right now thinking, well, I kind of think I've done it a couple times, but maybe not, I'm not sure. All of us have done this, and let me tell you why. Real simple example. You're not going to remember it for yourself, but you're going to remember it for other people. When you see a baby, and the baby decides they want to walk, is the baby successful the first time they stand up and try to walk? No. As my recollection from my 3 kids, it looked a little something like this. It looked like a drunken sailor, okay? They fell down 50 times. Did they say after 50 times of falling down and failing, you know what? Screw this walking thing. It's just not worth it. No. All of us, even as little babies, exhibited consistent perseverance because come hell or high water, we're going to figure out how to freaking walk. We did it then as small children, right? So you can do it now. One more quick example, Elon Musk. Everyone knows him as the richest guy in the world, right? Little eccentric, little crazy, whatever. Something you might not know about him in regards to consistent perseverance. Do you know that not once, but twice, Elon Musk was fired from companies that he freaking founded? Imagine founding a company and 2 years into it, the other leaders in the company go, hey, by the way, you stink, we're better without you, get out. And you're the founder. It happened not once, but twice. And by the way, to add insult to injury, the second time it happened, he was on his honeymoon. You want to talk about heartless? They called him on his honeymoon and said, you stink, get out. So Elon Musk has exhibited this as well. So I'll leave you with this. You see that we all have this in us. So my question to all of you, and I ask this question of myself all the time, why do we not tap into this more often? We have this potential. Why do we not tap into it more often? We should be doing this more often, right? So, my challenge to you and my action item to each and every one of you guys, simple one. Take a goal you have right now and make it bigger. Take a goal you have right now and make it bigger and apply SMAC to it. Start with yes. Start to believe this goal you had of making $1 million. I'm going to make it $2 million. Start to believe I can and I will make $2 million in that example. The second one, model expert behavior. Find someone who's super successful in what you're trying to accomplish and model their behavior. Create that sphere of accountability and then exhibit consistent perseverance and you will not fail. So let's all stop faking the funk and get after it, accomplish some major goals. If I can do this, you can do it too. Let's go.
Give it up for Ken Wentworth.